Previously on Coffeezilla.
We're not going to take millions of dollars to our fans ever, bro. We won't take any sponsorship money, nothing, bro. Like,
I don't do that selling t-shirts, dude. It's actually impossible.
Now, Coffee, is there a way where it's like, you just make this like right?
So, would you do it?
Oh, most definitely. Do you see where I'm working? $12 million a year would go a long way.
Yeah, that's exactly the problem, though. Money can make people do almost anything.
If I had $12 million, I'd go crazy. The first thing I'd do is buy pants. Lots and lots of pants.
I mean, for that kind of money, people can justify literally anything.
I don't even think people notice, to be honest. All they see is the shirt, but it's surprisingly drafty back here. And I just feel I need to commit one way or the other.
People are committing Wait, are you listening to me?
Oh, sorry, Coffee. Something ethical dilemma, right? Look, let me help you. You've got these guys by the balls, right? But what you need is...
I don't like where this is going.
You gotta squeeze them hard, Coffee. Like a pair of tight jeans.
Alright, yeah, I've heard enough. I'm leaving.
No, wait, I'm serious. What I mean is... there can't be breathing room for these influencers. Like a nice new pair of tight jeans. You gotta make an airtight case here, starting with why this whole offshore thing is unethical in the first place.
Come on, you don't think the audience already knows that?
We're talking about your average Nelk viewer?
Oh, that's a good point. Okay, I think you're right. I'm gonna go back to the $10 million studio and work on this. Thanks for the drinks. I'll pay the tab next time.
Yeah. Internet detective.
Ladies and gentlemen, the reasons pushing gambling on people is bad is obvious. But I still want to explain it for people who still might have questions like this. What's the difference between Steve promoting Roulette and literally every sports broadcasting network promoting sports betting? You know what? It's a valid point. Both are gambling, and with gambling, yes, you're going to lose money. And gambling addiction is a very real thing. People's lives are ruined, especially from things like slots. But this isn't a dare presentation, okay? There is another side to this. Gambling can be a lot of fun. So I want to make it clear, I'm not against gambling. I'm not anti-sports betting. I'm anti-promoting fake high-stakes gambling to young audiences from illegal jurisdictions with little or no help for gambling addicts. I hope that clears my position up. All right, fine. Let me break this down a bit. Let's start with the fake money these streamers use, or sponsored money as it's called. I've heard a lot of people say that these streams promoting gambling is the same as promoting any vice, like smoking or drinking.
The same way that there's laws with drinking, smoking, right? It's
Agreed.
A vice.
And this simply isn't true. For one, when advertising most vices, you're at least taking on the same risks of the vice as the people you're promoting that vice to. For example, if you're a streamer and you want to be sponsored by a cigarette company and you're being paid every time someone picks up smoking, part of the deal would be you'd have to smoke, and that smoking would give you cancer just as fast as the people you're promoting it to. But with casinos and fake money, that isn't the case, is it? The price of a gambling vice isn't a hangover or bad lungs, it's just being poor and broke. And when you're playing with fake money, you don't have that problem. And we know these streamers are aware of that fact because they've been literally caught talking about it.
If I started putting my own money in this, I feel like if I just filled myself with 4,000, right? I feel like I could but also it could be dangerous. But I see it as there's no point in putting my body or your mind through that type of stress. Right? I don't need it.
Yeah, definitely don't need that, bro.
Don't need the stress. Don't want to put your body through that kind of stress. These guys are unreal. Steve is literally saying here, the thing that I'm putting my fans through, I would never go through myself. I mean, who needs it?
I don't need it.
And by the way, just so we're clear, the people maddest about this fake money stuff, it really isn't me. It's actually the real money gamblers who know how ridiculous these fake high-stakes gambling streamers are.
I'm f***ing sick of these sites scamming with all their fake f***ing piece of shit f***ing streamers. How dumb are you? You think these guys are betting $70 million a day? You are dumb, stupid, 20 IQ.
Wow. Sometimes it really isn't what you say, it's how you say it. All right, fine. If the ethical thing really doesn't get you up in the morning, how about the fact that many of these people are literally illegally gambling in the US and know their fans are going to do the same? For example, here's Steve in his Miami condo. No. Wait, pause right there. Do you see that Howlerhead whiskey logo? Pay attention, because in some of Steve's gambling streams, you could see the same logo from the background, which is weird because I thought he was going to Mexico. This isn't legal because Roobet can't operate in the US, but here Steve is in Miami playing on Roobet. But of course, these guys don't really care. And of course, the same is true for Aiden Ross. We've caught him as well in America gambling. Here he is in his room on Dual Bits. So what does this actually mean, though? Well, it means that the fans of these streamers who are sometimes gambling in the US then go out and use a VPN to also gamble from the US, and they discuss this pretty openly. Quote, it's banned in the US. Use a VPN. They know their users are using a VPN. As long as they enforce global laws, they are safe, so they don't stop you from using a VPN. At Happy, I'm broke. Lol, any good VPNs? I'm a degen gambler, wasted 94K. You can just use a VPN. I've wagered effing 300K on Roobet and made Steve rich off referrals. Guys, can you play live games on Roobet with a VPN? Yes. But just in case none of that convinced you, I've saved my best argument for last. My trap card, if you will, for all these gambling streamers. The one thing that they will be unable to defend. Offshore crypto casinos are completely indefensible because of their lack of IDing people and responsible gambling controls. Because right now, if you're a gambling addict, you can go to your local casino and ban yourself if you have a problem. It's a very common practice called self-exclusion. But online crypto casinos don't let you do that, as gambling addicts who I interviewed told me.
Yeah, so I think that the biggest problem is, like, typically with any other regulated gambling site, you have self-imposed restrictions.
You sign up to it, they take your details, and they ban you from any gambling websites, betting websites, anything like that. And it's brilliant. That was probably the thing that enforced my recovery the most, because, you know, as much as I wanted to gamble, I couldn't.
If you tried to make a new account, you can't. You'll last for about 1 second before the system says, hey, no, this is you, and you have a gambling problem. With crypto casinos, it's not that. They don't really care.
Why would they have to care? They're in Curacao. They don't have to worry about, I mean, what do you
Yeah, no doubt, eh?
I mean, I didn't have to give a passport, any kind of ID, any kind of verification of who I was. So, you know, I could have been a child, and it just so happened I was a vulnerable adult.
I mean, you can close your account, they'll do it for you, but you can sign up with a new email under the exact same ID that you just uploaded, not even a different picture, the exact picture, and continue on your way.
A lot of people talk about the harm to children that this might bring, but there's a lot of adults out there who have a gambling disorder, which is a brain disorder, and they're being preyed on by one of the most exploitative and profit-making industries. It's absolutely sick, in my opinion.
He's right. This is the real problem with offshore gambling in Curacao. The fact that anyone from anywhere, regardless of their age or if they're addicted to gambling, they can just jump on these casinos anytime. And by the way, that doesn't just apply to Roobet. It also applies to Stake and Dual Bits as well. All of these crypto casinos located offshore. And these companies, the reason they make recovery for gambling addicts a million times harder because they don't let themselves exclude, the reason they do that, it makes them more money. And because they're offshore, nobody can tell them otherwise. Why would you turn a potential customer away? After all, a gambling addict is a great customer for a casino. And the craziest part is that this shady, scummy business is being pushed not by criminals, not on the dark web, but by the biggest streaming platform and influencers in the world. And why? Have you ever asked yourself, why are almost all the top streamers all sponsored by crypto casinos instead of more regulated casinos? The answer is actually quite simple. Offshore casinos have less regulation, which means more customers allowed in, which means more money to spend on influencers, which means they get the contract, right? It's actually pretty simple when you think about it, but remember where that extra money is coming from gambling addicts and people who shouldn't be gambling in the first place. Now, at this point, I want to confront Steve will do it already. We've talked to Nelk already. Now it's time for Steve. But before we can do that, we need to find some hard evidence to confront him with. And I realized I still have questions. So I started digging around and I created this. Let's go to the conspiracy board real quick. So this is Roobet, or at least the money flowing into Roobet. The center is what we call Roobet's hot wallet on Ethereum, where all the money flows in, and the outside are all the wallets depositing money into the casino. And the reason I made this, wait, why did I make this? Oh yeah, because it looks cool and because it demonstrates the scope of Roobet's operation. Because the first thing I wanted to know is how much money is Roobet making, right? How much are any of these crypto casinos making? And so tracking the money that flows in is a big part. But of course, casinos don't keep all the money that flows in, only what players lose. So in order to estimate the profit, we also need to see the money flowing out. And so I made this. These are some wallets that some ordinary gamers and I tracked down as being key to some of the owners of Roobet. We'll talk more in part 6 about how we did this and who owns these wallets. But for now, just know this gives us a very rough idea of how much money these guys are making. In total, all these crypto wallets over here deposited a total of $1.2 billion in Ethereum into Roobet. And over here, the top 10 Ethereum wallets, many of which are owned by the owners of Roobet, have pulled out $300 million of that. Meaning, I should start an unregulated crypto casino. I'm just kidding. No, actually, it just means that this is an insanely lucrative business, obviously. And this is only Ethereum. We haven't even calculated Bitcoin yet, which is probably worth more. It's just a little harder to get an exact number on that for reasons I won't bore you with. But the point is, not only are they making a lot, but we also know the crypto casinos are a low expense business, meaning most of it is profit. Really, the only cost is licensing the slot machines, paying some employees, and really marketing with these influencers. Ultimately, all these casinos care about is getting more numbers on the board, more people in the door. It's a very simple game for them. So this is where influencers come in, right? These guys actually are the lifeblood of these casinos. They're the ones who drive fresh meat into these casinos to gamble, which explains why they get paid so much. And by the way, just so we're all clear, Roobet, which we focused on because the biggest clowns promote it, isn't the biggest crypto casino. Actually, Roobet is the baby brother of the offshore casino world, but in the way that Shaq is maybe the baby brother of Yao Ming. He's still massive, but it's just all relative. The truth is there's an even bigger crypto casino we haven't talked about, Stake. Think about it this way. Roobet has done 2 billion wagers on their site. By comparison, Stake has done 45 billion wagers, making Stake over 20 times larger and a $1 billion business. So maybe a good comparison isn't Shaq and Yao Ming, but more like Peter Dinklage and Yao Ming. Either way, they're both absolutely raking in the money. Now, you may know Stake because of the influencers like Trainwrecks who gamble with them. They're really no better at all than Roobet, especially with the KYC issue, which we've already flagged as being the most important thing. These people just let gambling addicts in and ruin their lives. But many of these influencers will claim that they tell people not to gamble, to not bet more than they lose. Are these influencers really impacting anybody? Well, to find that out, let's go to the main desk, sort it out. So here's the thing. I wanted to know exactly how much of an impact these streamers were having. So I decided I needed to dig into affiliate numbers. Remember, these are the codes that these guys give you, like code Steve will do it, code Bradley Martin, code Logan Paul's friend. These numbers tell us exactly how many people these guys are bringing into these casinos. Now, luckily for us, Steve will do it in particular, accidentally leaked these numbers in a stream, not once, but twice. Once in April of 2020 and once in May of 2021, actually giving us a really nice 1-year sample size of how many people someone like Steve will do it will bring in a given year. So here's his numbers from April 1 year ago. You can see he has almost no deposits, only 173 depositors and 546 deposits. This was at the beginning of his streaming career. But fast forward a year later, and this guy has 22,000 unique depositors, and these people have deposited 324,000 times in total. Now, if we zoom in here and actually have the computer enhance, we find that Steve Will Do It has made $1.7 million off of affiliate codes alone. So let's understand what this means. Steve is a mid-sized to large gambling streamer, and in 1 year, he brought in 22,000 new accounts, and those people deposited on average about 15 times each. And mathematically, 3 to 5% will become problem gamblers or addicts, which means Steve onboarded about 600 to 1,100 gambling addicts in 1 year, going off the statistics. Good job, Steve. And the price for doing that was $1.7 million. But of course, that isn't the only way Steve made money from Roobet. That's just affiliates. He's making much more, but it was hard pinning down his income exactly. We found a bunch of other things like his Ethereum deposit wallets and a Bitcoin deposit wallet, but every time we confronted Steve with a wallet we thought belonged to him, it was like Patrick Star and Manta Ray in SpongeBob. Aren't you Steve Will Do It?
Yep.
And this is you playing Roobet.
Yep.
I found this deposit wallet in your stream. And if that's the case, this wallet belongs to you.
That makes sense to me.
Then take accountability.
It's not my wallet. Oh, you I'll take what you wanted to.
Yeah, suffice to say, I was going crazy, okay? You know, here's this guy saying he's going to be a billionaire in 3 to 5 years, but in DMs, it's a totally different story, ladies and gentlemen. Steve told me not only is he not a billionaire, he told me he doesn't even have $1 million. He sent me a screenshot of his bank account to prove it. Quote, I don't even have $1 million. And he said right after that, look at my YouTube videos, bro. Look at how much I spend. Look at how my parents live and what they have. I'm not claiming to make a little. I'm telling you, I spend 100% of what I have on my YouTube videos. I haven't saved $1 in like 5 months. Now, okay, I'll be honest. I felt this was a bit of a cop-out, right? He's claiming to spend 100% of what he makes on YouTube videos, but his YouTube videos are just him spending money on assets, like watches and properties. I mean, are they dumb purchases? Yes. But in watches alone, he spent $2 million in 2 months.
2 months, Steve spent $2.5 million. He's crazy. Touching 3 almost after this week.
So when Steve says he hasn't saved money in 5 months, he means cash, but he has gained assets, however dumb they are. And I confronted Steve on this, and he told me, quote, I own 7 cars, but bought 20 for other people. I own 9 watches, but have gifted 10. I own 4 properties, but have gifted 3 properties away. And I replied, so you're worth more than $3 million. Oh my gosh, this is making no sense. He says, you don't understand my YouTube channel. Now, he is right about that. I don't understand it. But even though he's worth way more than $1 million, I really did kind of think this was a bit pathetic. I mean, it reminded me of these professional athletes that make millions of dollars and end up broke. Like, I mean, this guy's taking private jets, flexing watches, but at the end of the day, he's spending everything. And it just all struck me as so pointless. Like, especially when considering where the money came from, getting his fans addicted to gambling. Now, before we go further, there's one other thing I should mention, and it's that Steve told me that he made so much money on Roobet, not just because of the gambling, but because of what he had been doing for Wizza as well. He told me it in DMs. You don't even know why I make so much. I asked, why? He replied, I promote Wizza completely free. That's the only reason I make money off Roobet. I was offered a bag, not cryptocurrency, for promotion of Wizza. I said no because I can't do that on YouTube because my whole thing is no paid ads on YouTube. That's why when I go to Mexico, I was able to stream with 1 to 2K viewers and make good money off stream. Wow. It is true that Steve constantly is telling people how much he promotes Wizza for free because they're his buddies.
I'm doing this for them. They're paying me $0.
I know like there's been some controversy. They talk about this like Wizza thing, right? Yeah. And I know firsthand like that you do not collect money from that because you're grateful for the other opportunities that the people who like basically created that company gave you.
But what he's telling us here contradicts that. He's simply saying because he doesn't take a paycheck with Wizza, he gets more of a paycheck over on Roobet, which totally contradicts Wizza's whole point to myself and Mudahar that they're totally separate from Roobet. Remember, Wizza this whole time has been trying to convince everybody that them and Roobet are completely separate entities. But Steve Will Do It is saying very clearly that his relationship with Roobet is dependent on how much he promotes Wizza. He said it even more explicitly later on, quote, I only started to make good money because I would do these Wizza ads for free. Like, if I would have accepted taking money from Wizza, my Roobet numbers would be significantly lower. Poking a few holes in Wizza's story there. But at this point, I realized it was kind of going in circles, trying to get him to fess up to how much money he's making. It was time to quit the foreplay. I decided I needed to get Steve Will Do It on the phone. And I decided to ask him the golden question. Can you just tell me how much you're making on Roobet? Like, is it $1 million a month? Is it $2 million a month? What is it?
I mean, it's really like how much much am I able to go and travel, and it's whatever like I really want it, not what I want it to be. Like, it can't be like a lot, but yeah, I mean, it could be like 500 to sometimes like closer to the million, like, per month.
Wow. Annualized, that's $6 to $12 million a year. Pretty wild, especially since he's probably lowballing this. Either way, it's insane. $12 million a year to spin some slots on Twitch. But the craziest part of this conversation came when Steve started talking about why he even partnered with Roobet in the first place. You won't believe this.
It was just one of those things. I love to gamble. I gambled a lot. It was kind of disgusting. And it was kind of like a great way for me to not gamble with my own money, right?
What? He partnered with a gambling company as a way to gamble without spending his own money. It seems insane. And like, do you see that as a problem? I mean, because I literally have a clip of you being like, I thought about putting my own money in, but who needs that kind of stress? And it's like, oh, this is insane. Because basically what you're doing, you're an ambassador for a company trying to get your fans to gamble with their own money, but then you yourself don't want to gamble with your money. You know what I mean? You know how that comes off.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, I do gamble as in sports and shit still, but I do get what you're saying. I just, I stopped playing at the casino and shit.
Why?
Because I have no control, man. And I have a credit. No control. I mean, I gamble. I mean, if I go to a casino, I gamble, but now it's like little money.
But wait. But don't you see the problem there? It's like, if you're saying like, oh man, I got to stop gambling, I have no control, and then you're making the majority of your money from getting other people to gamble while you yourself don't really want to do it anymore, like, isn't that kind of like a problem?
It's definitely, it could be a problem because gambling's not good.
Wow. Not good is right. Steve is admitting here that not only does he have a gambling problem, his solution was to get a gambling sponsorship so that he wouldn't have to stop gambling. But now his losses are just his fans' losses and he makes a ton of money. It's insane. Now, to Steve's credit, unlike a lot of other gambling influencers, he didn't shy away from the fact that, oh yeah, this is bad. But again, what's weird here is, and I couldn't believe it during the conversation, it seems that Steve never seems to have had this thought before, that offshore gambling might be bad. In fact, not only has apparently he never thought of it, he says no one in his inner circle of friends ever mentioned it either.
Maybe if you were like my friend, like in real life, and no one's approached me and said anything like this, that, hey, Steve, you know what you're doing is wrong, this, that, I've never been approached like that,
Yeah.
Like, no one's even close to me has ever said, like, yo, like, you should really rethink what you're doing. It's wrong. Like, I never had that. And I never thought that I was doing anything wrong, personally.
This is just sad, honestly. I can't read Steve's mind. I'll say it right up front. He could definitely be lying about this whole thing. But I don't know if that's the case here. Based on what I've seen of Steve Will Do It, I believe he actually thought to himself, oh, I'm the good guy. I'm not one of those scammers. I'm the good guy. And it was weird to hear him sort of in real time, it's sinking in that, oh, maybe this Roobet stuff was really bad.
Now, is there a way where it's like, you just make this like right? Because I'm not here saying, oh, no, nothing's wrong with gambling and shit. Like, is there a way to make this right with you? I'm here. I don't need to do Roobet ever again.
Wow. I don't know about you, but if there was ever a confession, that's it. Steve admitted here that what he was doing is wrong and that he would quit. He later says it even more explicitly.
Well, no, I've already made that decision. Like before saying that it was right. If I saw like that's already decided.
You're done with Rubat.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's a way to do it right. But yeah, as of right now, I'm done. I mean, unless you get on the phone and be like, hey, Steve, this is how you do it right.
Now, let's be honest. Is Steve doing this mostly because he got caught and not all because of some ethics realization? Yeah, probably. Let's not be naive. This is good for Steve's brand to stop gambling at this point. But nonetheless, would Steve quitting offshore gambling be a good gesture? Yes. Because ultimately, this isn't a story about Steve will do it making millions, even though it might have started that way. This has become a story about the gambling addicts who are suffering because of the offshore crypto casinos who are relentlessly targeting them. And even one influencer standing up, stopping and saying, this was wrong, that matters. However, that being said, there was another part of me that after this call, I couldn't help but think that Steve is just one influencer in a chain of influencers, all of them attracted by insane money and not willing to look at the result of their own actions and willing to look the other way. And the problem is, it's sort of an endless supply of Steves. As soon as one Steve won't do it, another Steve will do it. You know what I mean? I learned this when talking about that Aiden Ross clip. I put on Twitter that clip of Aiden Ross demeaning himself in front of tens of thousands of people. And I said, would you do this for $1 million a month? And I meant it as a joke, but the answer was overwhelming. Basically, y'all all would. And that kind of seems obvious in hindsight, but it made me look at this case a little bit differently. And it brought back some things people had told me along the way about how to approach this whole thing.
We can do what Hassan and Ethan did and spend hours arguing with Trainwreck about, how morally bad this is and you shouldn't be doing this. But if somebody came to me tomorrow and said, I'm going to pay you $1 million a month, I'd say, yeah. Even in my position as somebody who's been through the harm that gambling can cause, I understand that people need money.
That's a really good point. If ultimately the goal is to stop offshore gambling, preying on addicts, how do we solve that? Is it by showing people getting their lives ruined by gambling? Because I can do that. I've talked to so many gambling addicts over the last week, and some of their stories were so brutal that I was literally at a loss for words. How much money are you in debt right now?
More than 30,000. I can't sleep, and I have people I need to pay by the end of the month, and I'm just mentally completely destroyed. And before I call you, I was watching a video how to end your life. That's how bad it's getting into me right now. I feel so stupid.
It got dark, and I can show you over and over and over again clips that would horrify you. These people are saying the same thing. They're relapsing because unregulated gambling doesn't let them self-exclude. I can make that case 5 ways till Friday about why unregulated gambling is bad. And I might convince a few people, or maybe shame a few influencers into quitting this garbage practice of selling out your fans. But again, we know there's always going to be some scumbag willing to look the other way because it's life-changing money. So what do? Obviously, I'm no expert in this stuff, so I decided instead to just ask the addicts I talk to. What do they think should be done?
I think Twitch need to stop every streamer that promote unregulated casinos.
I mean, personally, I'm in favor of just shutting it down on Twitch altogether.
Simple as that. Promote casino that they are regulated means I can play on them, and if I think I'm becoming an addict, they will shut your account and things like this. I
don't think a platform that knows that the percentage of young people on their platform is 17-20%, whatever it was. They shouldn't be allowing this, especially not promoting it, suggesting it.
So there you go. That's what they say should be done. And for what it's worth, I agree. Twitch needs to do something. And I think they understand that because they've already been removing gambling affiliate codes from their influencers' pages. But is that enough? Ultimately, for an industry that is completely dependent on influencer marketing, Twitch could make some big changes that would radically help gambling addicts and lead to more compliance worldwide. Because let's be honest, if these billion-dollar crypto casinos knew, for example, that it wouldn't be tolerated on Twitch for them to not check IDs or allow VPNs, you better believe they would change their rules and shape up. They have enough money to do proper compliance. They have billions of dollars. The only reason they don't do anything is because Twitch doesn't care right now. But I don't mean to ignore influencers here either, because the solution involves them too. We've shown today with numbers how many people this is hurting. And we've demonstrated that without these influencers, these casinos wouldn't work. So if you're an influencer, you can be part of the solution too. Just consider not partnering with offshore, unregulated casinos. But hey, that's just my suggestion. And what do I know? I'm just a guy in his $10 million studio doing my research. Research that is about
finished waiting for this drink, Maxwell. Come on, what has happened to this place's service?
Oh, and like you're one to talk about making people wait. Here you go, Speedy Gonzalez. Don't forget to pay your tab this time.
Thanks, and sorry. Listen, the reason I'm in here is I want to tell you about a little project I've been working on, secretly, never been released.
Ooh, tell me it's an actual flying Lambo, and not just that CGI-looking thing.
No, it's not an actual... Wait, what the... Are you really breaking the wall right now?
Mark Cuban's NFT company has just been caught promoting scammy NFT projects. There's a surprise. In exchange for millions of dollars in payment. Shocker. And it has finally caught up with them, and they lost everything. Everything except the money. They still have that, guys. Thank God. But the 1.7 million followers on their @NFT account was just nuked into the metaverse. They don't have that anymore. And now several people are looking for a job. Now, all of this literally happened overnight. One day, they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars on autopilot, and the next, the account has been banned, and Mark Cuban has been accused of scamming people. How did this happen? I'm here to tell you guys today. It all started with a Twitter user who goes by the name of Top Shot Fund, and he actually did what no one has ever bothered to do with NFTs before. He did his research. He took a look at all the projects that Mark Cuban's company has been promoting in the last few months and checked if they actually made money or not. Now, before we get into the details of this, for those of you who aren't fully in the loop, Mark Cuban and a partner, Jason Falovich, bought an Instagram account called @NFT a little while ago, and almost immediately started using it to shill the absolute scummiest projects imaginable, as long as you were willing to pay the right price. Sort of rug pull promoters for hire, if you want to look at it that way. Now, I covered this on my show before, warning you guys about this page, okay? I DM'd the owner, and I was told I could promote an NFT project that I didn't have on his page if I only had $20,000 per post. And he said the only way this would work is if I bought the 5-pack deal, which was $100,000. And part of the appeal of doing this is that they don't mention that these projects they promote are ads. So it looks like they genuinely have hype. Now, I told you guys at the time this was super sketchy and you shouldn't trust these people. And it turns out I was right, because our buddy Top Shot Fund analyzed the performance of these NFT projects that they were promoting for cash and found that 70% of them fell in value, lost money. 10% of the projects were outright rug pulls, and only 25% of Mark Cuban's company's picks actually appreciated in price. You would have made money on them. What you're seeing right now is the spreadsheet that was put together about all these projects they promoted. Now, basically, this means that the 1.7 million followers were probably losing money, while the people getting rich on these picks were obviously Mark Cuban and the gang, as if they needed more money. I mean, I guess there's no such thing as enough money. But anyway, this was called out, and almost immediately, this post went viral. The team behind @NFT immediately started to do damage control and set up a live Twitter space claiming that it was all a big misunderstanding and that they were big on doing due diligence.
I'm not going to say every project we've ever promoted is terrible. That couldn't be further from the case. There's been a lot of fantastic projects that have come through. We are doing due diligence on these projects.
Now, all I really can say to this is my own experience with talking to these guys behind the scenes as a pretend NFT project promoter. And I can tell you that I think the only check they were interested in was the type you give to a bank teller. I mean, they didn't ask what the name of my Bored Ape Penguin project was. They were like, hey, give us the money now, baby. Check or we don't care. That was the entire vibe of their thing. It was like a copy paste. Like, if you don't have 25K per post, 5 post minimum, what are you doing here, right? Now, obviously, no one actually believes this, but this is kind of what they have to say because, you have a big name like Mark Cuban involved. He's got this huge brand, and you can't have him promoting a scam, right? And so a lot of work has been done to say, Mark Cuban? What? Mark Cuban? What? We had his name on the Instagram account. He was a co-founder. What? He He had nothing to do with this. Apparently, Rolling Stone asked him if he was involved, and he said, no, he wasn't involved at all in the operations. Basically, he didn't know anything, didn't see anything, didn't do anything. His co-founders were just running around without him. And, you know, maybe there's some truth to that. I'm sure Mark Cuban's a busy guy. I'm sure he's not dealing with the day-to-day. But my thinking is he was probably happy to sign the checks when the money was coming in. But all of a sudden, when stuff blows up, all of a sudden, Mark Cuban's nowhere to be found. He disappears. And basically, everyone involved in this is acting like that. No one responded to my requests for comment. Nobody responded when, you know, it was asked why they didn't say these things were ads when they actually were. You know, all of a sudden, nobody's running the ship, right? Nobody's in charge. When it's making tens of millions of dollars, I'm sure things are fine. Even the guy who's sort of the face of this whole thing, Jason Falovich, the guy who told me I would need to pay $25,000 per post on his page, you might be shocked to know that he's not in it for the money.
And if you do what you love, and like, I don't do it for the money. I just fucking loved it.
Yeah.
I wanted to get up every day and do what I love.
That's right, guys. He has a passion for this. This is... He's got a passion for asking for $25K per post. He's not in it for the money. He's in it for the love of the game, the love of NFTs. Guys, either way, the page has now been nuked by Instagram, by the holy angels at Zuckerberg's hellhole. What up? Welcome to the Trillionaire Club, guys. Big deal here. In the Trillionaire Club, not only are you richer than the richest man in the world, but also you can learn about the system that helped this man obtain his Lambo in 90 days. Yes, that's right. Pretty incredible stuff. But before we get into that, we're going to do something that I want to call ethics tips. This is basically a lot of common sense. The golden rule is don't be a piece of shit. Basically, don't lie to people. Ladies and gentlemen, so many of you are out there just doing the most ridiculous things to try to get clicks. You think that clicks are everything and are worth selling out for or compromising your image. And it's not. Let me show you an example of what I mean today. This is what I like to call the TikTok lie. I really don't want to play too much of this, otherwise we're going to get demonetized here. But it says, I'll mute it. Here we go. When our clients make high ticket sales without a webinar or funnel, and you see this lady freaking out, and oh my gosh, look at them. They're so excited because they're getting high ticket sales without a webinar or funnel. Now, somebody sent me this and they pointed out, look, you have the coach on the left-hand side smiling, right? You have the family on the right-hand side whose life has been changed. But here's the deal. It's fake. That's right, guys, because as someone pointed out to me, someone else is doing this too. And both of these people are lying about it. This is the same exact video.
Which was Friday. So Friday, Monday,
I'm making you so much money. Come join my team, right? You'll be shouting like this family right here. You'll be so excited. But here's the deal. This is not about anyone taking a guru's course. This is all stolen from a TikTok. It says posting because I love these videos and this is the happiest I've been in a while for getting into my dream school. This is this lady getting into her dream school, and it's now being used as a reaction for marketers pretending like it's their course that got them to act like this. I mean, watch again, guys. What would you think if you saw this, dude? Oh, yeah. Haha, I'm so happy for them. Except this isn't real. It's a lie. It's a lie. Gotcha. Look, anything, dude. These people will do anything for the sale. It's unbelievable. Don't do this, okay? This is bad. Bad. And then what's funny is I saw this guy, who video we just watched, talking about, oh, how do you think I get so many testimonials?
Have you ever had an issue getting testimonials from your clients? If so, I want you to stay tuned in this video because I'm going to show you exactly how I get so many testimonials.
Oh, don't worry, Tanner Chidster. We know how you get so many testimonials, buddy. You troll over to that TikTok page and you just go ahead and throw it a little reaction, right? Here, let's do one right now.
Yes.
But anyway, guys, that's the ethics tip of the day. Don't take reactions and pretend that they're your customers. how this honestly isn't that hard. But this ethics tip has been brought to you by our old friends over at InfoWars. You guys know I'm a media buyer for Alex. Obviously, he wants to support the show. Alex, thanks for your support of the show. I didn't even know you watched. You have a message for these gurus. You're upset about it. What do you have to say to them?
I'm here to ram heads with you. I'm here to take you down. My destruction is the seeds of your sure destruction, fools.
Thank you, Alex. As always, this message has been brought to you by crippling debt from my expensive $10 million studio. Guys, you may have noticed the production value is sick lately. I seem to be in these incredible places that I almost couldn't be physically. And you wonder, how do you put up such a gigantic studio? Well, guys, you should know, I built a gigantic warehouse and all of these sets are physically built. I'm physically in these areas and that's just what it is. And we have to pay for it somehow, guys. Money is a fuel unit. Don't forget.
You must have enough fuel units to live out your new Lamborghini here in the Hollywood Hills.
But anyway, guys, let's get back to it, okay? You want to know, you're here for the Trillionaire Club. You want to know, how do I get a Lambo in 90 days? Well, our boy, the Ray Cartier, is here to tell you. Now, the first thing to know is he's one of these lifestyle gurus. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that he doesn't really talk about how to make money. He more just shows off his lifestyle and then is always saying like, oh, hit me up if you want to know more. Like pictures like this, okay? Mind the business that pays you. Okay, what is that, huh? Leverage the system that pays you. Ooh, we're getting original now. But ultimately, all this money has to come from somewhere. After all, he says that he didn't start with a silver spoon in his mouth. No, he was broke before he learned how to make this money. Here we go. From being 10K in debt to 6-figure income. Want to find out how? Send us a DM. Ooh. Nothing like a money counter to really get us interested. But my point is you really don't know what this guy's into until you kind of dig a little bit more in, you know? All of these lifestyle guys are like that. You're like, what do you do besides take pictures? Like, how do you make money? It's confusing. You're saying you're so successful, you're getting a Lambo in 90 days. How?
My name is Ray Milano. I'm a 26-year-old Forex trader, and I've helped thousands of people become successful in Forex trading.
Come on, dude.
Today, I check off another dream off my list.
I swear, dude, this is just bait for the 18-year-olds out there who want to get rich quick. They're watching this stuff like, oh my gosh, I don't need to go to college. I don't need to get a job. I'm going to quit my whole career and go join Ray Cartier. Cartier. How do you say it? I don't know. And it's disgusting, but it's also hilarious. Like, you're following this idiot? What is he actually selling you? Right? I still don't know. What is he selling? Education? Okay, what does that mean? How did he learn to trade Forex? Okay, so apparently a lot of this is linked to this thing he does called Skynet Legacy. Now, it says new and improved artificial intelligence trading. So I was like, okay, that's what he does. He's an artificial intelligence trader, which honestly sounds cooler than it actually is. You know, there's a lot of these trading bots that make nothing. But I was interested in what actually this is. So I went to the page. You get some generic thing. So I got the webinar, whatever. I went to the webinar link. Now, this is where I'm doing the due diligence for you guys. So if you actually go and sign up for the webinar, this is what you get to, an unlisted YouTube video where it's selling you not on Skynet Legacy. I thought this guy had created his own artificial intelligence. That's what he makes it sound like in his advertising. Instead, he's pitching something called Avoria Prime. Now, I'm not going to bore you with all of this, but basically he goes, oh yeah, we'll meet the team. You know, it's this amazing team that built this amazing trading bot that you can use to make money. No questions asked. This is what this guy is selling you. He's saying, you can be like me, you can be rich if you join Avoria Prime. They sell an Alexander package and an Eris package. They're two trading bots, I guess. They give you alerts. One is $267 now, $189 a month, and the other is $110 a month. So you're thinking, oh, so it's a product? That's how people are making money? Or they're making money by trading? No, also not. That's not how they make their money. This is actually, and it took me forever to realize this, it's just a multi-level marketing company. It's all a front. It's a front. That's right. At the end of the day, after all this talk about wealth, living the lifestyle, it turns out that this is an MLM, and it's not even the first version of this MLM. It started as Silver Star Live. I don't know if you guys can see that. Silver Star Live right here, which apparently ended in a $75,000 fraud settlement. Then they tried rebooting it as EA Economy. That collapsed. Now they're rebooting it again under this guy. Now, does that guy look familiar to you? He should. Because that's this man right here, Sal Leto. He's one of the guys that marketed the OneCoin Ponzi scheme, and now he's trying to revamp this failed trading bot as Avoria Prime. This is all according to Behind MLM, which I find to be a pretty reputable source when it comes to investigating these types of opportunities. Now, what does this all mean? Well, it means Bezos is safe. I mean, I really thought when I saw the Trillionaire Club up here that Bezos has been cracked. I mean, as you know, he's not a trillionaire yet. He's probably watched this guy like, hey, do I have to take this guy out? Do I have to drone strike him? Is he ahead of me in the game? Well, no. This guy's another poser trying to sell you with jealousy, with envy. He's trying to sell you a product and make himself rich. And he's trying to sell you multi-level marketing, guys. What are we in 2012, dude? I thought this Avon, Amway stuff was long dead. Apparently, it's all moved over to stuff like Forex, stuff like that. Don't bother with this stuff, guys. You should know by now. You should know better. We here in the Coffeezilla Army, we're advancing the game. So if you ever see one of your friends getting into this stuff, hey, stop them. You got to tell them, look, friends don't let friends get in scams. That's it. By the way, also, let me just say as an aside, if you can avoid, I know a lot of people are super into cars, but the more you can avoid getting trapped by these, and they are a trap, kind of like luxury desires, the less you have to work. I mean, all these people, they always talk about like living a laptop lifestyle. You know the best way to live a laptop lifestyle and to not have to work as much? Lower your expectations. If you want a Lambo, hey, guess what? You're going to be working hard. You're working, busting it all the time just so you can have other dudes can look at you like, nice car, bro. But instead, if you can just be content, with the Honda Civic, but that sounds so lame. But you guys know what I mean. If you don't have to have all that stuff, guess what? You don't need to work as hard because you don't have these like crazy expectations for life. That's why I think these things are doubly stupid. Because on the one hand, it promotes like this, like, oh, dude, hey, bro, just have cash and stacks and then live this luxury lifestyle. And you have kids like idolizing this stuff, which is so stupid. But then at the same time, they don't make the money that they're saying you need to make to get the lifestyle. So they're promoting this super expensive lifestyle and also not delivering. Sorry to get all philosophical with you boys. That's basically it. Thanks for watching. And as always,
don't forget to smash like.
$600 million gone. One day you think you're going to the moon. The next, it turns out you just paid for the other rich guy to go into space without you. This is a story of why you have to be careful investing in crypto. But you know what you don't have to be careful with? Pumpinzilla, the stock. It's free. Just like and subscribe, and that's it. You're in. Believe me, the dividends are unreal. Here's one Zilla holder who invested at 10K subscribers. Now look at him. Doctors hate him. But anyways, let's get on to the video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the $10 million studio. I'm your host, Coffeezilla, and today I want to talk about the Poly Network hack. If you haven't heard of it, it's giant news. $600 million were abruptly stolen in one day, making this the biggest hack in decentralized finance history. And I know the words decentralized finance don't exactly excite some of you guys. It's also known as DeFi. Sort of like X-ray crystallography. For most of the population, it kind of invites you to gently drift off to sleep. But I promise this story is worth sticking around for. Hackers, trolls, even a guy quoting Ronald Reagan about tearing down that wall. It's become a fascinating whodunit mystery, which is still ongoing. Let me catch you up to speed on what happened. The key idea in DeFi is that no centralized authority can control your money. Instead, it's all built on computer code. what happens when the code is exploited. On August 10th at 7:38 a.m., Poly Network, a DeFi protocol, alerts everyone that they had just been hacked. They list the wallets of the hacker and ask the exchanges to blacklist these stolen assets. We call on miners of affected blockchain and crypto exchanges to blacklist tokens coming from the above addresses. And a manhunt immediately begins. The first order of business, how much money was stolen? Answer, $611 million. And at this point, it seems like a race. Can this hacker launder the money? Or will enough blockchain exchanges blacklist them and make it impossible to move? And at first, it appears that the hacker might be too late. 3 failed transactions come from his wallet trying to send $130 million. The fact they failed may mean he's stuck. But then, help arrives from an unlikely source. Exactly $3.76 of Ethereum. But with it, millions of dollars worth of advice. Because you can leave notes with each transaction, and the sender, Hanashiro.eth, had a note for our hacker. Don't use your USDT token. You've gotten blacklisted. See, it seems that Tether had been the first to act, freezing $33 million in the hacker's accounts. I guess they didn't want to see what happened if those had been redeemed. And this is why the hacker's transactions failed. And the hacker seems to have noticed the note because the next transaction went through without Tether. This one being worth almost $100 million in USDC and about $700,000 worth of DAI. The hacker, known as the Poly Network exploiter, then decides he's very thankful and decides to pay Hanashiro.eth 13.37 Ethereum. Now, this is pretty wild because it seems like they aren't working together, but instead this guy maybe just like wants to watch the world burn, this Hanashiro.eth. We don't know who he is. But if we take a look at what he did with the money that he was given, about $40,000, he starts donating the money in 1.337 ETH increments to a series of charities, as well as Vitalik, the creator of Ethereum. And as before, with each of these wallet sins, he puts a note. This one reads, "We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones making a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true. We'll make a better day. Just you and me." Which, if you didn't know, are the lyrics to "We Are the World" by Michael Jackson. He continues by sending this amount of ETH to other organizations like archive.org, and then surprisingly starts donating in different languages, and even at one point sends the full Ronald Reagan speech about tearing down the Berlin Wall. So pretty clearly this guy is a massive troll. But for Hanashiro.eth, the magnitude of what he did may have started to sink in, because the next thing he says is, "I'm just a crypto enthusiast passing by, checked hacker Tether Circle blacklist status, and sent that message. And again, I'm not the hacker. The funds are my personal and lawful assets from arbitrage." And of course, the reason he's saying this is pretty obvious. If you look at his token transactions, he has a lot of money. Here's him transacting $450,000 worth of USD coin, which means he has a lot of money. He's a big whale. And clearly, he's probably KYC'd with other exchanges, meaning they know who he is. So it seems likely that he realized this little troll he did may have been much bigger than he realized, and legal action could feasibly be taken against him. But with that Hanashiro component out of the way, let's go back to the hacker, because whoever hacked Poly Network seemed also to be in a bit of a crisis themselves. This person has $600 million in a crypto wallet, but with the world watching, it was turning out sort of hard to move that amount of money without everybody knowing and tracing it. So this hacker starts posting messages on the blockchain, suddenly talking about returning the money. This is one of them. Quote, "Not so interested in money, now considering returning some tokens or just leaving them here." Going through his messages, he seems unprepared for his next move. Like he didn't realize that he could possibly even get this far in a heist. Like a bad guy who's been caught so early so many times that he didn't think this far ahead. Because his next messages come off very scatterbrained. He says, "What if I make a new token and let the DAO decide where the tokens go?" DAO meaning decentralized autonomous organization. In other words, let the people decide where these hacked funds go. But then as quickly as he says that, he says, quote, "It's already a legend to win so much fortune. It will be an eternal legend to save the world. I made the decision, no more DAO." And then at last, ready to return the fund. Now you have to imagine, while this guy's figuring this out, the DeFi world is panicking. $600 million is sitting in the hands of an undecided hacker, now trying to maybe play the good guy after he realized his money is probably never going to be able to be spent. Because if he tried to spend it, the police would be at his door in a heartbeat. But make no mistake, this guy wanted to launder the funds because he said, "Wonder why Tornado will miner stop me? Teach me, please." Here he's talking about Tornado Cash, a tool that is often used for money laundering. It's a mixing service. The problem is, with amounts this large, it would be incredibly hard to mix. And so in the end, this guy got in touch with Poly Network and decides he's going to start returning some of the funds. And once again, he starts playing the hero, hacking for good. I did save the project. But this doesn't seem entirely insincere because Poly Network later confirms that they started receiving money from the hacker. As of recording this video, $260 million of assets have been returned. And as for the hacker, he seems quite pleased with himself because he started a Q&A, ladies and gentlemen, like it's a Reddit AMA or something. I'm going to read you through part of this stuff. It's kind of long, but it starts with Q&A part 1, why hacking? For fun. Why Poly Network? Cross-chain hacking is hot. Why transferring tokens? This is where I think he's covering his own ass. He says, to keep it safe. He says, when spotting the bug, I had a mixed feeling. Ask yourself what you would do had you facing so much fortune. Asking the project team politely so that they can fix it? Anyone could be the traitor given $1 billion. I can trust nobody. The only solution I could come up with is saving it in a trusted account while keeping myself anonymous and safe. So basically saying, I couldn't trust anyone given the size of this exploit, so I had to take all the money into my own account to save you guys. And I think most people would sort of call BS on this at some level because it does seem like if he could launder the funds and get away with it, he probably would. But at the same time, it's hard to be mad about this guy who seems to be returning some of the funds. But his reasoning is just childlike because he said, why selling and swapping the stables? Because the stable coins. He said, I was pissed at the Poly team for their initial response. They urged others to blame and hate me before I had any chance to reply, since I had no plan laundering them. This is such a weird response and is like the mentality of a child. He says he's mad because they didn't give him the benefit of the doubt when he just took $600 million from the project. I don't know, I'd be pretty skeptical as well. And you might be thinking, this guy seems almost childish. How did they even steal this much money? How did this exploit work? It did seem like an outside attacker and not Poly Network themselves. And honestly, this whole hack was weird all around. On the one hand, it was extremely technical and sophisticated. At the same time, it seems to have been perpetuated by someone who wasn't ready to be a truly hardened criminal. Nor were they exactly innocent either. More like something in between. And as for the victims of this hack, even though they may not lose as much as we originally thought, I don't think they should count themselves safe just yet or return their trust in Poly Network. Because in this case, 6 months ago, Matt Damon told us all that fortune favors the brave in a commercial that appeared to be about sailing, flying, and rocket ships, but was actually about a crypto exchange. The implication, of course, being if you don't buy into crypto in 2022, you're a chicken, a coward, and you're going to be crying to your grandkids trying to explain why they can't eat because you didn't listen to the janitor from Good Will Hunting.
My boy's wicked smart.
And this was the beginning of a major spending spree for the crypto exchange called Crypto.com. They were going to do things differently. While other people bribed celebrities like Jimmy Fallon with pictures of apes, Crypto.com was going to be smart and judicious about their spending, which is why they spent $100 million on this ad comparing going to Mars with buying crypto. And they followed it up by buying the naming rights to the Staples Center for $700 million. Now, I know what you're thinking. $800 million, that's a lot of money to spend just on ads. But fear not, they have a great revenue business plan. They're going to make money on trading fees and also on people investing in their coin called Kronos or Crow. But of course, getting people to go to your website is one thing, and getting them to invest in your token is quite another. So to make this happen, Crypto.com hatched a plan. they were going to give an insane offer, a debit card which gave you 8% cash back on all purchases. They would pay for your Netflix account, they'd pay for your Spotify subscription, Amazon Prime. They would even put you in a private jet partnership if you bought a lot of their crypto and promised not to sell it by locking it up, also known as staking. The more you staked, the more you earned with their tiered system. They had several cards on offering, the top one being the Obsidian card. They advertised it gave you 8% back on all purchases instantly. All you have to do to get it is invest $400,000 into the Crypto.com token and stake it for like 6 months or something. Now, of course, if you're too poor for that, you can try their lower tiers like the Icy White or Jade collection. In both cases, you get slightly less rewards for paying a lot less money. But if this is starting to sound like a Ponzi scheme, locking outrageous sums of money into a system to get outrageous returns, we haven't even gotten to the best part, which are the staking rewards. The other part of this whole scheme is that while you staked Kronos Coin, you made Kronos Coin. Apparently, they were giving 12% per year extra in Kronos to people who staked Kronos. That's in addition to the subscriptions they're paying for, 8% cash back, all of this stuff. All you have to do to get all of it is be brave, like Matt Damon says, and give them $400,000 for a while. So that's the plan in a nutshell. What could possibly go wrong? Crypto.com slumps 30% as staking rewards are slashed. Crypto.com, soon after assembling everyone in their website for this flagship marketing campaign, kind of was like, we're actually not going to do that because it's unsustainable in their words, because, all these crypto arenas they have to buy, they don't exactly have the money for it. So as of May 1st, they took all the cards and basically obliterated the rewards. Here's the change on screen. You can see things like Obsidian and Icy got their rewards obliterated. Now, understandably, their investors who staked incredible amounts of money into their Crow coin were completely pissed off about this, because not only is their card in most cases nearly worthless, also the price of their Crow, which is locked up and they can't sell, began to plummet right after this news was announced. Here's some quotes from their Reddit. "So I staked for Indigo at the peak because of the 3% cash back made it worth it. My Crow is down over 50%, and now they're slashing the cashback rates." Wow. So basically people lost money on their staked money while also having the ability to get cash back slashed. But the people in charge of Crypto.com clearly felt like they were between a rock and a hard place. On the one hand, they had promised unsustainable things and spent their money on advertising. On the other hand, they might go bankrupt because the price of their token is going to zero. And it was at this point the CEO decided to backpedal and give something back to the community. He said in a comment, quote, "The community has always been really vocal with regards to the changes to the card program announced yesterday. We care deeply about the community and will always hear you and always listen to you. As a result, we're revising card staking rates." It was at this point they gave a small concession back to the community. They were going to re-implement the staking at a slightly lower rate, but from the reaction, it wasn't quite enough. This guy says, "Didn't know we were haggling for price at the fish market. Did we haggle to have a different stake amount when we applied for the Crow card? No, we didn't and couldn't. And here we have Crypto.com spending millions on advertising, now haggling with us on the rates. So if we didn't make noise, you would have just sliced us and diced us?" The answer to that, of course, is yes. Definitely yes. And the worst part of all of this is that even after wrecking people on this sort of bait and switch deal, Crypto.com is still advertising their 8% cashback rates even now. And so what's the lesson here? Well, as kind of trite as it sounds, the real lesson is that if it sounds too good to be true, Matt Damon will promote it anyways. And by the way, Crypto.com CEO Chris, that guy, you should probably know, before starting this crypto exchange, he left his last job, quote, amid accusations from customers and business partners that they had been ripped off. But if that's not bad enough, check this out. One business owner, quote, claimed Chris's platform had issued promotions to boost its revenue just before shutting down. Deals that were then left worthless. So, I don't know. Maybe you should add that in your commercial next time.
What does Matt Damon say on that Bitcoin commercial? Fortune favors the brave! My dad said he listened to Matt Damon and lost all his money. Yes, everyone did! But they were brave in doing so!